Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women now in its 15th year. Still pinching myself that I'm saying that. I'm also the founder behind Inspired Living University, a sacred curriculum and community for women. You can learn more at inspiredlivinguniversity.com. You know, I'm passionate about bringing you guests and topics that can inspire, empower, and support you in living your best life. Well, my friend, today I am here with Colleen Elaine. She is a Rapid Transformational Therapist, Reiki Master, who is passionate about supporting women in mastering their mindset, releasing their false beliefs, and don't we have them? Each have those, as well as claiming their inner light. Merging her expert skills and intuitive abilities, Colleen guides and compassionately supports clients using the powerful Rapid Transformational Therapy processes to get into and excavate the root cause of the issue holding them back. Colleen's also an expert instructor for Inspire Living University, a best-selling co-author, and a contributor to Aspire Magazine. Colleen, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, you know, you and I have circled around and played together, and I just love your work. And when I have a guest on, I always like to bring them back a little to their story of what led you to this work, right? Because I always love to hear the passion or the journey that brought them to the passionate work they're doing now. So would you mind giving us a little background that led to you choosing this field?
Oh, sure. I would love to. So I think it all started basically, I was probably a teenager, and I've just always been passionate about personal development and learning new things. And I got into reading some things. I think the first book that really opened my eyes to personal development was called The Celestine Prophecy. And once I got into that book, it really just kind of inspired me to look beyond what I could see with my physical eyes. And then something else happened. It was many years later, I had 2 Reiki sessions, and they were by 2 different Reiki practitioners. And each one of them, and I think they were probably about 2 years apart even, and each one of those Reiki masters told me when they got to my throat chakra that there was something there that needed to be expressed. And so I started delving in deeper into, wondering what that could be. I couldn't with my conscious mind figure out what it was. But then through a little more inner work and excavating my own thoughts through journaling and also through writing a book, I discovered that something that had happened to me in my teen years, I was drugged and raped as a 17-year-old. And I had suppressed that experience, never telling anyone, and suppressed it for 28 years. So I knew in that moment that was what was blocked in my throat chakra, the fact that I had never spoken of it, that silence had been trapped in my body. So I went on a journey of self-discovery to figure out how best to process those emotions that I had, let settle within me for so long. And it wasn't until a few years after that, I was sitting in a courtroom. My son, my middle son, he was 22 at the time, had been addicted to some drugs. And through the course of a few years of his addiction, he started breaking into homes and stealing property and pawning things. And so he had gotten arrested. And when I was sitting in the courtroom waiting for, his sentencing, he was facing 10 years in prison. I had kind of an absolute wake up call. I realized that I wasn't showing up for myself in my life, much less showing up for anybody else. So in that moment, I decided that I had to do more than what I was doing for my personal development. And I had to dive deeper into the subconscious to help myself to escape what was, trapped within me. So that was the start of my big journey.
It's so powerful. And you know what I love to hear from the stories of experts that I bring on is sometimes I've just discovered on my own journey that sometimes women look at other women and go, oh, I could never do what Colleen's doing. Look at her. She's out there. She's teaching. Look at her store with her beautiful meditations, etc. Or they look at me and say, look at Linda with all the brands. And they put this projection on us that we were suddenly got to this point of where we are today without the backstory, right?
Right.
And you know my backstory, and you just shared some. I knew a lot about your backstory, except for the part about when you were 17, like the details of how it really affected you, right?
Right.
So by you sharing your truth today and sharing, it's my vision that I want a woman out there to hear and say to herself, wow, she experienced all this, but here she is today in her truth, in her strength, in her power. And you're an inspiration, my friend. So thank you for sharing that story, because I know it will touch so many others.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share that. It was a truly powerful experience. And I know people need to be able to relate to that, because there's many other people that are holding those issues silent.
Well, like you, I can really relate to the many parts of your story, actually, because of my past. But the part when you said the 2 Reiki treatments discovered the block in your throat chakra. Our journey is similar in that way, as I went to a theta healer when Aspire was probably 2 years old, so like 13 years ago. And it was a sample session with a student. I was going for my certification. And the student said, I can't tell you what I see. And I'm like, what is she talking about? She's supposed to tell me. And she called over the instructor, and the instructor went in with theta healing and said, you need to clear your throat chakra, or it's going to manifest in this lifetime. Because what she saw was in another lifetime I had been decapitated for sharing the spiritual word.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said, you were a scribe back in Jesus's time. And my role was just to write the wisdom of others. And her words to me, I'm going to get emotional. She actually said, Linda, you need to do this you have to do the inner work to clear this, because of Aspire magazine. Aspire, think about it, Colleen, you write for us,
Yes.
is actually, I'm the scribe again for other people's wisdom. And she said, if you don't clear this, Aspire can't be successful. And what she didn't know, Colleen, is 6 months before I had been in a car accident and had severe damage to C4, C5, which is cervical, right?
Right.
As well as a month before my class with her, getting diagnosed with severe thyroid disease. And when I told her that, she said it's already happening in the physical, decapitation, wow, front and back. So I shared that to feed off your story of, we receive messages. Our body is always telling us something, but that you had the awareness to listen and do the inner work. That's what I want people to hear. I had to do the inner work. It's not always fun. It's not glamorous. It's messy. But if you look back to that day that you received, those times you received the message about your throat chakra, and you see who you are today and the work you've done, isn't it all been worth it?
Absolutely. And I truly believe that the body doesn't lie. And unfortunately, we're taught to ignore our emotions and our feelings and our intuition. So to get back to that and to really listen to your body is a huge awakening, and it changes everything.
Well, that's what I love about the work that you're doing in the world. And we're going to speak for a few minutes. We'll go to break, and then we're going to dive deeper in, because you're a Rapid Transformational Therapist, a Reiki Master. And I want to talk about, when we come back from break, exactly what Rapid Transformational Therapy is. Because remember when I first met you, I'm like, hey, I've been around a long time and I have not heard of that. And then I got to know you, and I'm like, this is powerful. This is powerful in helping people like you said, master their mindset, but most importantly, release the false beliefs that we all have. So, Colleen, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment, everyone. I want to dive into this without having to interrupt. So, in the meantime, visit ColleenElaine.com and we'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am with Colleen Elaine today, Rapid Transformational Therapist, Reiki Master, and just a hell of a woman. So, Colleen, what led you to Rapid Transformational Therapy?
I had seen a TED Talk, and also on Mind Valley, I had seen a woman named Marissa Peer. And I watched her presentation, and the title of the presentation was I Am Enough. And I was very intrigued by that because I had always felt like I wasn't enough. I wasn't smart enough, and I wasn't good enough. And, you know, there were always a word to put in front of enough. And after watching her presentation, I thought, wow, you know, Rapid Transformational Therapy, RTT for short, was something that really, really intrigued me. And I kind of put it on the back burner for a while. But what I realized later on, I started writing my own book. And through the process of writing my book, I basically had a transformation process that was similar to RTT. I didn't know it at the time. However, later I had followed Marissa Peer for a number of years, and I had watched some more of her videos, and I decided that, you know what, this is a transformational process that I'm really intrigued by. I think it could help a lot of people, and I want to know more information about it. So I actually signed up to become an RTT therapist, and I got a personal session with Marissa Peer, I'm happy to say, and she has transformed much of my life. And so once I became an RTT therapist, as I was learning the process of everything, I discovered that I had done the exact same process through writing my book. Only it took me about 6 years to write my book, which was a long, long time to have the kind of transformation I was looking for. And in RTT, you can have that same type of transformation in just one session. So I was completely ecstatic about the experience and about bringing that to other people and helping other people transform their lives much quicker and finding the freedom that they want to be, you know, who they're meant to be.
It just sounds so powerful. And what I love about it too is this can be done virtually.
Yes, absolutely. And
So
luckily,
you can, it doesn't matter where they are. So guide us through what a session is like for someone that has never heard of RTT before.
okay, yes, I'd love to. So RTT, what happens is the session is about a 90-minute time frame. And typically what I do is I send an intake form to the client ahead of time where they fill it out and they're choosing their presenting issue that they want to work on. So for example, let's say that issue might be confidence. They're feeling a lack of confidence. And so they want to improve that. Maybe it's for a job interview or for being out there seeking a partner, whatever they want the confidence for. So they would fill out the intake form, and then I would do a 30-minute session with them beforehand to talk about how that lack of confidence is showing up in their life, what the triggers are. We talk about their childhood. We also talk about what they want their life to look like. I show them my magic wand and say, if you could have anything out of the session, what would that one wish be? So they describe to me what they want their life to look like. And so in their 90-minute session, we talk a little bit more just to get them comfortable. And then I put them under hypnosis, which is just like being in somewhat of like a meditative state. You're completely aware of everything. But what happens is we're tapping into the theta brain. And so that allows the conscious mind to step aside, where I get to talk to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind records everything that ever happens to you in your life. So it has the key and holds all the answers to all the questions. So once they're in that theta state, I work on regressing them back. So we regress back to 3 scenes from their past. And that's a minimum of 3 scenes. If I feel like we need more information, we can do more. But typically it's 3 scenes. And from those 3 scenes, I have the client weave the perceived pattern between those 3 scenes together to find the meaning that they associated with that. And that meaning might be that love is not available to them, or that they are not attractive enough, or they're not smart enough. It could be anything. So what we're looking for is they're figuring out what that meaning is that they associated with those scenes that show up for them. And then from that point, we can work on understanding why they came up with that meaning. And then we work on the transformational process, basically, weaving those scenes into what that meaning was, understanding why they associated each of those scenes to that meaning. And then using their words, I work on a transformational recording, and I paint the picture of what they want their life to look like. And I'm directing and commanding and instructing the subconscious mind to take hold of these ideas that they want. And because I'm using their words, their mind is excited by this. And so then after the session, they take that recording and they listen to that transformational recording every day for 21 days, which reprograms the mind and secures new neural pathways in their mind for the transformation that they came for.
It sounds so powerful. It's like a re-scripting.
Exactly.
It's a re-scripting. That's what, as you were speaking, I'm like, whoa. And what I love too is the recording that isn't just a recording. It's what you said is using their own words, which means the subconscious is going to connect with it.
Exactly, because they're the words that came out of their mouth. It's what they specifically want, and of course I add other things into it as well. But it's exciting their mind, because our minds work on our words and the pictures that we have in our mind. So we have to paint that picture for them using metaphors and whatnot. And so they get that picture in their mind so that their body can go to work and their mind can go to work in creating that new reality for them.
So do you recommend they listen to the recording for 21 days, like at nighttime as they fall asleep, or is it a certain time of day that's best, or any time?
Yes, usually I recommend that they listen at night, because really it's the subconscious mind that is listening. So I recommend that they put the, earbuds or, headphones in and just relax as when they're going to sleep and just listen. And they typically will fall asleep during the recording, and then they can pull the earbuds out or turn it off if they wake up. And it's designed to allow them to go right back to sleep, basically uninterrupted. Now, that's not to say that they can't listen during the day. The only thing I say is that, they cannot listen to it as they're operating any kind of machinery. But if they wanted to listen to it in the morning, or, if they were looking for confidence and they wanted to listen to it before they went onto a podcast or something like that, that's an added bonus.
This is powerful. So why don't you share for the audience that's listening, what are some of the core issues that people have reached out to you for, so that maybe they can see themselves and go, oh.
Okay, sure. Yeah, some of the issues that I've worked with are, I had a client that came to me for a sugar addiction. So that was a very interesting thing. I've also done weight reduction. And, one thing I want to mention there is that most people talk about losing weight. And I want to impress upon everyone to eliminate that word lose when you're talking about weight. It's weight reduction or shedding weight or eliminating weight. Because if you say the word lose, whenever you lose something, what does your mind want to do?
Find it.
Exactly. So we don't want to use the word lose. We want to use shed, release, eliminate. So that's a big one people come to me for. Also, smoking cessation. I've also worked with junior high school kids and high school kids on confidence and self-esteem. And I've recently worked with a young girl on concentration and focus.
And what are some of the mindset blocks? So those are some of I can see those are like results oriented. They want to make that shift. Has someone ever come like with a mindset block that's stopping them from, I don't know, like, I don't want to say manifesting, but bringing in what they wish to call? Or like, maybe in other words, they don't know why they're coming for you, but they know there's some kind of hidden mindset block. I think that's a question I was trying to ask. Is there a way to help them uncover it?
Yes, that is an excellent question. Usually the presenting problem has nothing to do with the core belief. So that's what we're seeking in RTT, is to find that core belief. So a lot of times that core belief might be that, they can't finish projects because the core belief may be, I have a fear of success, or I have a fear that if I let this go, nothing new will come into my life. So there's always something much, much deeper than that presenting problem that shows up.
That's great to know. Now let's use the one that I wrote those all down, the sugar addiction, and the client with the sugar addiction.
Yes.
She was having cravings for what, carbs and sugar?
Yes, mostly candy bars and potato chips. And it was always directed around the same time in the afternoon. And actually it was a gentleman that came to me for that issue.
So when you did the work, what was the core belief that was underneath that would lead to that decision at that time of day? Like, how did you get to the belief when it comes to candy bars and potato chips?
Right. So this was a very interesting case, because I would never have dreamt, what came up in this particular session. So what came up for this gentleman was that he did not feel loved. He did not feel lovable. And through the regression, we actually discovered that erectile dysfunction was really the root cause, the root issue of the problem. And he was using the sugar addiction to compensate for his lack of joy in his life, that he wanted to express through, his sexual being. So that was quite an interesting thing, that a sugar addiction presented itself for that particular problem.
And I could almost see that it would, because for a man to even talk about that, acknowledge that topic, and be able to work through it, you have to deal with all the emotions behind that, because that's hard for a man. So I could see that instead of dealing with it, he'd grab that, and that was his compensation, correct?
Correct. So, and then, because he was reaching for those sugars all the time, he had put on some weight, which was compounding his problem. But it all went back to the fact that he didn't receive the love that he needed as a child. So therefore, it was presenting all those other issues that were leading up. And so finally, the sugar addiction was the one that had him seek out help to get back to that root cause of why he didn't feel lovable.
That's powerful. And he was able to move through and reduce his snacking.
Yes, he absolutely did. And he said his most challenging moment was that he was going to see family in another state, I think a month after our session. And I did follow up with him after that to make sure that all went well. And he expressed to me that his entire family dynamic had changed because he had changed, and he no longer had, fears around, being enough, or that his family didn't love him or accept him. So
what a sacred gift, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In that he was able to recognize it. So do the majority, before we head to the next break, do the majority of clients only need one session?
Yes, the majority need just one session, but there are times when I would recommend 3 sessions. Some cases have more deep-seated issues, and I would say that would be like some addiction problems, and even smoking. Smoking sometimes can be resolved in 1 session, but I like to do 3 just because there might be separate issues that come up. And then anything like anorexia or bulimia, or in some cases, weight reduction. There might be a few issues where there might be a lovability factor. There might be some anxiety or abandonment issues. So we like to kind of cover all those things. So I always recommend 3 sessions when I'm dealing with something large like that.
Oh, this is so interesting. We're going to take a break, Colleen, and I'll be back in a moment, everyone, with Colleen Elaine. You can learn more about Colleen's services at ColleenElaine.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
By tapping into the subconscious mind and learning to understand the when and why behind our limiting beliefs, we are able to release them. Rapid Transformational Therapist and Reiki Master Colleen Elaine supports women in mastering their mindset, releasing their false beliefs, and claiming their inner light. She is passionate about educating women how past trauma and challenges can be alchemized into opportunities for growth and transformation. Merging her expert skills and intuitive abilities, Colleen guides and compassionately supports clients using the powerful Rapid Transformational Therapy processes to excavate the root cause of the issue holding them back. Visit ColleenElaine.com to learn more about Colleen's services, and be sure to visit her shop for the Blissful Escapes series of guided meditations.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
And so Nikki, my daughter's an empath, and they can have those deep conversations. But, we've all been part of families, myself included, that some things just aren't recognized because if the parent process is different, they unconsciously, of course, might not even know that a child is sensitive to something like the loss of a turtle, right? Or the death of the bug that McKenna found, or the butterfly that McKenna found, right? It's like, because they process differently.
Exactly, yeah. And in fact, one of her scenes, it was just passing, a dead squirrel on the side of the road. It really, substantially affected her emotions.
Yeah, she's a true empath. And
Yes.
How has it transitioned since the session Was she able to move through?
Yes, she was able to move through. I created a beautiful recording for her using her favorite characters, and we put these favorite characters on balloons that she could carry with her. So she would collect these balloons with the characters, and they all represented a different quality, like confidence or memory and focus, and different, just different things that she might need along her day in school. She could pull this balloon down and it be with her as she needed, maybe focus to take her math test. So she really loved the recording, and she listened to that one for the 21 days. And in fact, I actually made a second recording for her, just to kind of keep the momentum going.
Especially at that age, right? Trying to really connect it. What I love about the story is, when parents are so open to starting a child so young with something like this, it's giving them back their power.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I love to do with all these things with McKenna, and I have a grandson that's going to be 21. He grew up with all my woo stuff, my words, not his. And guess what? You think they're not listening, Colleen? They're listening, because now he'll send me memes and, different things. What's the moon energy? What do I do when I'm anxious again? What's the pressure point? And I'm like, he was listening all those
years. I love it.
Yeah, so it's such a sacred gift that her parents gave her. And for everyone listening, we all process differently. And sometimes we have a loved one, and sometimes we can't understand that they process differently. And, you have someone out there doing the work like Colleen is. It's such a sacred gift. So be open to it. Be open to accepting and opening yourself up to new ways of healing. Because Colleen and I have known each other, for quite a while, but really deeper in this last year. And I didn't know what Rapid Transformational Therapy was. And then as I got to know her and had conversations and heard about her transformational work with clients, I'm like, I have got to have her on the show, because I've been doing personal and spiritual development for 30 years. How did I not know about this? And so I didn't want another woman out there not knowing about this beautiful work that Colleen's doing, the results and benefits that can be drawn from it. So what do you say? Does someone have to be open, like energy-wise? Do they have to be open to hypnosis? Like, what's the best ideal client who gets results?
Well, the way I address that would be, I ask the client, of course, I have my magic wand, and I ask them what is it they want out of a session. If I could give them any wish at all, what would that wish be? So they have to believe that they can receive what they're wanting to wish for. And also I ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to getting it? Because I can only do so much in a session. The real work comes in as they listen to that transformational recording over the 21 days. So they have to be 100% committed to their part and listening to that recording.
Oh, I guarantee it, that is the part that makes the work. If they're not willing to commit to themselves, then they're letting themselves down.
Exactly.
And so if someone wanted to start the journey with you, what is it? Is there a call, a form? How do they begin to find out more?
Yes, on my website, I have a contact me form, and they can fill that out and send it to me. And I offer a free 30-minute clarity session where we'll talk about whatever issue that they have that they would like to work on. And then we go over, what a session would look like specifically for them.
And normally, so that you do the free session, then it's the 90 minutes, or if I'm correct, there's a 30-minute before the 90.
Correct. Yes. I always allow a 2-hour session when I schedule the 90-minute, because I like to again, take that additional time in the beginning to make them feel completely comfortable. We don't just jump right in. I want them to feel, ready, relaxed, and comfortable before we actually start the 90-minute session.
And then they receive their sacred recording within a couple of weeks?
Actually, they receive it that same day.
Whoa, you are a magical mama.
Well, I make the recording during their session.
Oh, that's magical. I think that's great.
So actually, they get the benefit of that transformation during the session, and then they're securing it in within the next 21 days.
This is powerful, Colleen. I am so grateful that you're joining me today. So we're going to take our last break, and then we're going to come back and dive in even deeper. So we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Colleen Elaine, Rapid Transformational Therapist and Reiki Master. You can learn more at ColleenElaine.com. And I have to tell you, friends, make sure you visit her shop. She has beautiful, blissful escapes meditations, guided meditations. She has a few there with more coming. And you'll also see some other products on the page. So again, that's ColleenElaine.com. We'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of LiveYourDivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit LiveYourDivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations, and I am here with Colleen Elaine, who is, that's my mom's name. That's why she must be on my mind, Colleen. So one of the things is, you spent this journey that you've been on, like merging your skill sets, right, and your intuitive abilities. Did you always know you were intuitive?
Yes, actually, I did. I would see things before they happened. I would feel things. And sometimes whenever I would doubt it and what I felt actually happened, I knew, okay, you've got to stop doubting yourself. So yeah, I always somewhat knew it. And actually I get it from, I might have a vision, or I might have a felt sense, or I might even hear something. So I actually have a blend of all three of those clairs.
So, since you've done the inner work, especially throat chakra work, I can imagine that it just became even clearer.
Yes, absolutely. I'm honing it more and more every day. And I just absolutely love, listening and being aware and waiting for, my next intuitive moment.
And it also really enhances the work you do with clients, because you can read the energy behind their words.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. And then Reiki comes in with that as well. I always open myself up for Reiki when I'm doing a session, so that, again, I can be a channel for that healing energy.
One of the questions I have, because we talked about how this work helps you excavate the root cause of the issue holding them back. Are your clients ever surprised when you get down to that root issue to say, that's been in my subconscious all this time, it causing me to do A, B, C, D? Are they surprised?
Yes, they absolutely are, because usually what I hear is, oh my gosh, never in a million years would I have come up with that scene. I didn't even remember that that happened. So usually there's one, maybe one scene, possibly two that might have been, familiar to them that they had remembered, but there's always one that just blows them away that they didn't recall at all.
And that's so powerful. Now, one of the things when you mentioned earlier, the real deep wounded, I don't like the word issue, but I guess I'll have to use that. The deep-seated issues, like you mentioned, anorexia, bulimia, addiction, those need more because the layers of damage that have been done to their psyche from that behavior. Is that why? Or is it because the beliefs are even deeper behind those?
Yes, I would say it's a combination of those two things. Like in anorexia, there is a compulsion to not want to grow up. Something has happened in their life where they absolutely fear growing up. So they're trying to take control of their life by controlling the intake of food. And same thing with addictions. They're looking for some type of control. It always seems like their life is out of control in certain aspects. It might just be one aspect. It might be a multiple of aspects, certain things in their life. But the only way that they can take control is what they're actually ingesting. So that usually comes with the addictions, the anorexia, and the weight issues.
It just amazes me how the psyche is. I struggled with eating disorders when I was young. That's why I asked that question. So for years, I was probably at 100 pounds. And for those who know me, in Colleen, you do. I'm 130 right now. So, and I'm small. So imagine 100 pounds. I always looked healthy, but I had that thing where I can't hit triple digits on the scale. So I wanted to be at 99.
Right.
And my healing came from healing childhood trauma. Right. So it's what you just said about not wanting to grow up. Well, I believe in my case, now that I look back, because, I've been healthy for God now 30 years. And so I look back and say, oh, I see how the childhood trauma would cause me to restrict what comes into my body if I can't restrict it another way. Right.
Right.
I restricted with food. But then I have a family member who, though the circumstances was different, the childhood trauma, who went the opposite way. So that is when I say, isn't it funny, in a not funny way, how almost the same experiences within the same family can result in the opposite, one under, one over.
Yeah, because one is restricting and one is, overcompensating.
Yeah, her words to me once were, if I keep stuffing the food down, then the memories can't come up.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And in my case, like I wanted to face it and dive in. So that's what my choice was 30 years ago, to start that journey to healing and face it. Wasn't fun. I had a year of holy shit, darkness. But I am so much healthier emotionally, spiritually, physically because I did that than if I had not open myself to receive the help. Like the clients that come to you, that's a really vulnerable step to come to you and say, I need help with this.
Yes, we have to be willing to face our fear in order to overcome it.
Oh yeah, and for me, I work with private clients on sacred visibility wounds, and believe it or not, a lot of it, we talk about this kind of stuff because they're like, I'm in business. What's that got to do with my childhood? And I'm like, there's a belief somewhere that you shouldn't be seen or heard. Right? So It's kind of that same thing, right? Like there's an audience for you is, helping entrepreneurs break through whatever blocks that they're not showing up fully, because wouldn't that be the case?
Exactly. If it's like a computer program. There's something always running in the background. And that's like our subconscious minds, all of our memories and the triggers, the issues from the past are being triggered with what is happening today. So we're constantly, receiving these triggers and reacting rather than responding until we heal those inner traumas or inner issues.
It's so powerful. And what I do with this show is to bring awareness to the resources, experts like you, Colleen, that women can turn to. Because sometimes, and I know I've been there, so I'll speak for myself, when we're on a healing journey or when we're, facing our fears, as you just said, we sometimes feel so alone, especially if we don't have that circle around us or a family member that we can turn to and talk to. So I just keep shining the light and bringing awareness to say to women, you don't have to do it alone. There are ways to navigate healing in a quicker way. And everything we talked about today, that's really about what your work is, right? It's shortening the healing journey. You took 6 years to write the book and heal, and then you have this work. What a difference, right?
Yes, it's an absolute difference. And this is the gift I want to bring to the world, to allow especially women to tap into and reclaim their inner power so that they can have the freedom they deserve.
I have a lot of large communities and I have some groups, and I'm always there to support them. And one of the core issues I see coming up, in conversations, Colleen, is, and it isn't just entrepreneurs, because it's funny, it's that number one is, who am I to be seen or heard, right? So that's
right.
one. But they don't have to be an entrepreneur to experience that. You have kids now, like, that don't want to speak in front of their class, who are like a lot of self-judgment.
Yes.
So like I say to myself, okay, if we don't catch it in these children, like I have so much love and respect for the parents of the 8-year-old, what a gift. Because if not, that becomes a belief. The longer that little girl carried that, imagine waking up 30 years from now.
Exactly. And that's what I don't want. And I think with, the way the world has gone in the past year, this is going to be huge for kids. I mean, with the isolation and, doing the virtual learning, it's more important now than ever for them to be able to express themselves and, to be able to, not push down their emotions.
Oh, it's big. I have a couple of friends that are, a difference between counselors, therapists, and psychotherapists. And they said, in relation to their child patients, they have a 6 to 8 month waiting list. Their practices. This is multiple therapists saying parents are trying to get their kids in because of the stress of this year. Their behavior changes, their self-esteem issues and there's waiting lists. They cannot keep up. And that breaks my heart. Right. And that's why getting this message out, like, there's other tools. I'm not saying don't do counseling. I'm saying don't wait 8 months to get your child help.
Exactly.
Right.
And
still do counseling, but also be open. There's so many other things to try.
Right. That's my message too, that, this is a unique, therapy process, but it is so worth it to try it.
Now, with a child, like, let's say that age range, we'll say, not a preteen because they're more self-sufficient. With a child, which in that age range, the 8 to 10, what's the word I'm going to look for? What is the personality style that would work best? Or does it matter? Like, in other words, that child has to be able to receive you, right?
Right. And that's the thing. Usually, on our first Zoom session, I make sure the child feels comfortable with who I am. I usually have one of the parents with the child when I'm talking to them. So we're asking questions and we're talking about their interests and, what's going on in their life. I want that child to feel absolutely comfortable with me and, ready to do a session with me. And again, when they have the session, it's up to the parent and up to the child too, if they want the parent to be right there in the room as we do the session. Because their comfort level is the most important thing.
I see what you're saying, because some children might want to talk without the mom or parent there.
Right.
Others may feel safer to have the parent there.
Right. So I always tell the parent that up front that, I will be asking your child, do they want you in the room during the session? And every parent has been, receptive to that.
Oh, I think that's great. If you can tell they're going to be receptive, because if they came to you in the first place.
Right.
They're open.
Yeah.
And so is there any message in our last few minutes that, a piece of wisdom more than you've already shared, or someone that is listening now that is struggling?
Yes. What I truly believe is that all the answers are within you. You are the cage and you are the key. So you have the ability to set yourself free. And sometimes we all just need a little bit of help in finding that key.
No, it's beautiful. And I love that because just the statement gives us back our power.
Yes.
Because we're trained, I think, or programmed to grow up looking outside ourselves for the answers.
Right.
And I did that. I changed it. And it wasn't until back 30 years ago when I chose to face everything that I realized I am so done running. So I turned around. It's something you said earlier about facing the fears, and I turned around, and then all my focus went inward, like the inward journey began instead of the first 30 years focusing outward. Well, I'll either restrict on food, or I'll party, or I'll do this, or relationships, and it was exhausting.
Right, because all those are forms of running.
Yeah, and this work helps you. Really, like my energetic reading of it is it helps you come back to the truth of who you are. And that truth was always there. You just didn't know how to see it.
Right. And once you see it, you can never, once you know something, you can never go back to not knowing.
I know. I love that. I've always found that statement fascinating because it's so true. It is so true. Colleen, I am so grateful that you were able to join me today. And I'm going to invite everyone once again to visit ColleenElaine.com, learn about Colleen's services, schedule that free session. At least, take that first step to connecting with her, hearing a little more about how she can support you. Colleen, thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's been my pleasure.
And until next time, everyone, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.